Hello? Yes, better. Good morning. How are you? Good, an engaged audience, that's the best. Are you excited to be listening a whole full day about people that are going to talk about creativity and creative people? Well, good, because that's exactly not what I'm going to do. Let's talk a little bit about non-creativity today. The reason for that is because yesterday we spent some time having a creative incubator here. And we've talked about our business and what is changing in our business. And technology is, of course, impacting our business. But other driving forces are changing the way we work with creativity. And I can tell you that during those couple of hours that we spent together talking about this, we spent more time talking about businesses that have nothing at all to do with creativity than we spent time talking about our peers and other agencies. So that's why today I'm going to tell you all about the non-creatives, who they are, and why they're after us. And then I'm going to tell you, maybe, what we can do about it. And because I like to over-dramatize things, I'm probably going to put my manic speaker hat on and be a little bit sarcastic and strong in my statements, but you will survive this, hopefully. So let's start about the non-creatives, those boring people that work not in a creative department. Who the hell are they? Do you know who I'm talking about? Well, maybe I could be talking about people that belong to those types of jobs, developers or data scientists or system architects or consultants, or anybody really that does not supposedly belong into a creative company. What do those people have in common? Well, they share some personality traits. They are data-based and rational, and maybe some of them are rule followers, and they're analytical, and they're pragmatic. And in our world, sometimes we tend to consider them as a little bit boring. But that did not really matter until very recently, because we used to live in peace. They were doing their thing, and we were doing our thing, and that was all very, very fine. Until they started to try to get onto our turf. That's unacceptable. What did they do? Well, first of all, you had an army of people in suits trying to acquire creative shops. By the way, the middle name of my company is Deloitte. Not the sexiest thing to bring in a conversation, I have to admit. And initially we thought, well, that's fine, because the reason they're doing this is just because they want to look cooler, they want to look sexier. It has nothing to do with the business. It's just those people trying to buy some street cred from the cool people. Or? Well, when they came to us, they just said, we have the technology, we have the data, now we need somebody to figure it out. And you guys might just be the people to do that. And when this happened, everybody told us, well, oh, poor you. Oh, my God. Oh, how are you going to survive this? That sounds horrible. But everybody also said, it's fine, because it's never going to happen to us. Because that comes from the outside. And maybe those people belong to an advertising network or something along the lines, and they felt like, we're okay. Nothing is going to happen to us. But then this happened. This guy happened. And he's not named Marcel. Actually, he's called Chip Register. And maybe you guys have heard about this, how Publicis recently decided to pull out of all the award shows for the year and instead invest all of the money that they would usually put to showcase their creative work into an application that will help match their creatives with the best creative projects that they have in the network to create more efficiency. And yet again, even though that came from within, we felt like, well, it's fine. It's just optimization. It's just some people willing to save money. It has nothing to do with us, creative people. Or did it? Problem is, it continues. And it continues from within. And the first thing that they, the non-creatives, attacked was design, because design, as we all know, in the hierarchy of creativity is somewhere below, right? That's how it works. So they attacked design, and they started producing packagings that were generated by computers, and we thought, that's fine, they're just replacing an intern that would have done that anyways. And some teams are optimizing their ways of doing design by helping, here an example from Airbnb, wireframes to become proper designs using the design system, and it's fully automated, but it's fine because in the end, who wants to do that? As long as they don't come after the ideas, we're good. No one's going to replace us. But then they came after the ideas. And when that started happening, I think we all felt like, you know what? No way, ever, a machine is going to replace us in having ideas. Because look at this. When one of the biggest technology brands in the world released their first supposed AI on Twitter, it took less than 20 hours for it to become a freaking fucking Nazi, or an impersonation of Donald Trump, which is pretty much the same thing. So how the hell is that going to disrupt us as creatives? Well, some people tried anyways. And of course, it came from Japan, and they created a robot that was the first artificial creative director that was going to be able to produce briefs and ideas in order to be more efficient than a human being. And because it's Japan as well, robot competitions are a thing, so they put one creative director against one human, they produced campaigns, and they measured which one was the best. I'm glad to say the human still won by 54%, which is not that much when you think about it. But I think we need to look at the work that the AI has produced, or the so-called AI has produced, just to get a feeling for what's coming after us. And the good part is, it involves a dog. We're fine. We're not out of a job yet. Maybe. You gotta love Japan, right? They produce the best thing ever, all the time. But, of course, it keeps on growing, and after all, they came after execution, they came after ideas, but as we can clearly see, there is nothing you can do to come after talent, because talent, as the combination of being smart and having ideas and connecting the dots and using technique to solve something, is something that only humans can do. It's not reproducible. Think about all the grand artists that humanity has produced. How can they be replaced? Well, some people still fucking try. Are they going to leave us alone at some point? Some people thought, let's just analyze all the work that has ever been produced by one of the grandmasters and just reproduce what he's been doing. And so they looked at all the work that Rembrandt has produced throughout his lifetime, used, well, supposedly machine learning, again, supposedly machine learning, to create the most generic version of a Rembrandt portrait, and then used a very advanced 3D printing technique to reproduce the brush strokes together to create what is today the most generic Rembrandt painting ever. Making us think that maybe talent is reproducible, maybe it's just a pattern of the brain that you could dump over and over again. Are they going to leave us alone? Are they going to leave one thing untouched? When all of this happened, we were told it's okay because you know what, computers, there is one thing they cannot do, and that's taking half-assed decisions, which is in a proper language called having intuition. When you take an idea or a decision based on very constrained data, and you're thinking, I have a gut feeling that this is the right thing to do. And no one can touch that, ever, ever, ever. Well, this is the face of a poor guy who got beaten at a game where intuition leads everything. This is the face of a world master champion of Go getting bitten by DeepMind, which is an AI solution from Google, because he could not predict what the AI was doing. And what is good about it is not the AI and it's not that it's playing Go, it's the fact that this AI was taking decisions based on half-assed data sets, that he was actually thinking, it's probably going to be that, so I'm going to go for this, instead of pre-calculating every move that would have taken it millions of years. They have left nothing for us. They're coming for talent, they're coming for ideas, they're coming for execution. So what is left? You scared enough yet? Are you terrified? Please tell me you're terrified. Or maybe that you're very, very excited because, God damn it, there has never been such an exciting time for us to be there as creatives. This is the face of the same guy that has bitten DeepMind a couple of months after, because he's learned from the AI new moves that no human could have conceptualized, and it took it by surprise. And he was able to just cram it to the floor. The Rembrandt portrait would be nothing without the work of Rembrandt. And the crazy flying dog with glitter, well, actually, that's a creative team that's done it. The robot just did the brief. So in reality, all of this would not be anything without the work of fantastic creatives and creative minds. Our job has always been to connect the dots together. What technology brings us today is just a lot more dots to connect. But the real question, and something that we've discussed back and forth yesterday, is actually, why are we so scared then? What are we afraid of in the creative industry? Why do we believe that this is a threat to us as businesses, as companies, and as individuals? And that's actually the topic of my talk today. I want to talk about this fear. And I think the reason why we are so stressed about this is because we're a little bit scared to lose our status. We're a little bit scared to lose the idea monopoly that we've so skillfully crafted for so many years. Those people that produce those amazing things today, they have different skill sets to what we have been told we should be as creatives. They are data-based and rational and rule followers, and they're analytics. And definitely, they are actually very far from what we believe we are, which might be a little bit scary. That's because we are freaking biased in this industry. We've been taught that creativity is something different, that creativity only requires to be a little bit irrational, to push the boundaries, to think out of the box. As a matter of fact, a piece of creative work is judged to be more creative if we tell the audience that the creator is slightly eccentric. So that's what we believe we have to be. But that's a little bit more complicated than that, right? And maybe, just maybe, we have a little bit of an ego problem in the creative and advertising industry. Another thing that we've mentioned yesterday was that on the top 50 list of the most creative people in the world, there are barely a couple of people coming from the so-called creative industry. So yes, we have an ego problem. We have to question ourselves. And are we really that creative? Or are we using our creativity to push the boundaries as much as we should? It is questioning ourselves, and it's making the lines move for us to see that technology drives new personality types and new types of creativity. But I have good news for you. Again, in the history of mankind, there have been plenty of people that were highly creative and highly analytical and rational and logical. It's just been very recently that we've tailored a whole industry in thinking the opposite. Creativity is not a binary system. If you've ever been told about the right brain, left brain bullshit, you can forget it right now, because it's not how it works. The problem we have is a problem of diversity. I'm not going to get even on the problem of gender diversity or ethnical diversity or even background diversity. I think we can even start smaller, The problem we have in the creative industry right now is that we have a diversity of thoughts problem. We do not have enough representation of the different ways of thinking in the rooms when we are looking at problems, which is why our customers are starting to question, well, maybe you're not the right people to solve that specific thing that I need to solve right now. So now I'm going to ask you guys to be a little bit vulnerable. And I'm going to ask you guys to raise your hand. Just is for my own understanding, and it's a little bit of a social experiment. I would like you to raise your hand if you feel like to have an idea, you need to reflect a little bit by yourself before coming to the group. Can you raise your hand? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You can turn to see the rest of the audience. I think it's kind of interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you believe that sometimes your ideas are not big enough. God damn it, look at this. Look at you, creative industry. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if sometimes you feel like you have to work twice as much as everybody else to get to the same result. I should have taken a picture of that. Can you please raise your hand if you feel like actually you're here by luck and at some point someone's going to realize you're not that talented and creative at all and you're going to get busted? Yep. Hello. And now, last question. Can you raise your hand if you feel like in your company, your organization, that's not really something we talk about and the way we ideate is just not exactly helping you overcome those problems? Good. Not too bad. Okay, something that might sound obvious, but is still not at this point. There's more than one kind of creative intelligence. And I thought this was the most obvious thing in the world. And then I realized that actually it's not that obvious. The simple fact that there are different types of intelligence, that some people are highly mathematical, some people are very good at connecting people together, some people are more verbally versed, and some people are more creative musically or whatever, has just been acted by psychologists in 1983, and it's still disputed today. They say there is no proof for this. Well, if you've worked in a good creative team before, you know that it's completely true and that we have all kinds of ways of tackling an idea, and that some of us are very high-level ideators and that some of us are very good at taking an idea and making it better afterwards. The problem we have is that today, to serve our customers facing technology, facing data-driven things, it's not exactly the rational people that we put forward. We always still continue to put our old, the very inspiring creative forefront, and sometimes that's not what's going to make it, that's not what's going to solve it. And that's why there are now plenty of non-creative company with no creative department, where all people are actually creative, that are tackling our business problem and taking away our customers. And to be really honest, it's about fucking time. Because it's about fucking time that we start questioning ourselves as well on that and how we handle our own teams. The time has come to celebrate all those types of personalities, and most importantly, the time has come to push forward the new breeds. And I think that's something that Chris has been mentioning, that we need to change, we need to stop being lazy, and we need to start working on ourselves. And that's what I want to call augmented creative intelligence, and it doesn't matter how you want to call it, but the time has come for people that have the ability to leverage the data and the technology to achieve greater results and to drive our industry forward hand in hand with more traditional creatives. Because it doesn't matter if it's not you. It doesn't matter if it's not you that is being that person that is being able to do that. What matters is to find that person and collaborate and work together. Because together, that's how we will start seeing the world differently. And it can be creating fantastic execution of AIs, of creative ideas using technology. It can be representing data in real time in beautiful ways. It can even be data mining bazillions of playlists to put together Britney Spears and Rammstein to tell you that you had a very troubled teenagehood and call it a time capsule. Thank you, Spotify, to make me feel so bad about myself. It doesn't really matter. That's just shaping the world as it is today, and that's how we will survive as an industry. There has never been a more exciting time to work in our field. But to do that, we have to adapt and we have to change. And that's probably what you're going to hear throughout the day. That's hopefully what you're going to leave with when you get out of this dark room tonight and feel like, damn it, maybe we have to rethink a little bit how we do things. So here are my 3 points for you guys to think about when you leave and when you see the sun again and we're like, what am I supposed to change if I want to survive this deadly world where crazy people are going to put flying dogs with green glitters behind them? Well, the first thing I think we need to start looking at is to look more at what we consider non-creatives. We in our industry and maybe in the award shows have a very wrong tendency to only look at ourselves and at our little belly button thinking, ooh, that is nice. And I can tell you for a fact that I was judging at Cannes Lions 2 years back, and there were some fantastic ideas that were pushed by Facebook and by Google and by Spotify, and they were dismissed even before they were discussed because they were saying, these are not coming from the creative industry, therefore they're not creative. And that's so wrong in so many ways. We need to see the value of that work. We need to understand what it brings to us as people and as industries, because we have to stay curious. Thank you, Ami, for mentioning this again. Curiosity is what is going to save us from death and disappearance. Then the second point is about recognizing creativity when you see it. Creativity requires work. It requires to question our own mental models, to understand the varieties in ways of generating ideas in a room. And you guys raised your hand about like small ideas, or it's scary, or I need time. And we as organizations need to help this in our teams. We need to reframe the way we ideate, to promote the introverts, to promote the rationals, to get all the juices we can from those people so that we can start challenging the business and find the right allies. I believe very strongly that cross-functional teams are the answer to all of this. And by cross-functional teams, I mean death to the creative team isolated from the rest. We at Mobiento have done this for the past 4 years. I only have the title head of creative because I deal with a salary revision of 17 people, but that doesn't mean that the rest is not creative. They work together at all times. There is not a single moment where they work separated, and that has brought us to have better ideas. And the worst part is we even sometimes bring our customers to our decision sessions, and experts and SMEs and psychologists and cogniticians, because we need the external influence to start seeing the world in different ways. And that's why we started challenging our business, and that's why we ended up being acquired by a massive consultancy, which has been really good for us, because we found new allies to talk to our customers and not lock ourselves into thinking we're the creatives and that's our turf. Now our turf is so much bigger and so much more interesting. So today you're going to hear a lot about creativity. You're going to hear a lot about creative people. But I urge you, when you leave this room, to start looking at the work being done by what we call the non-creative, even though they are not really non-creatives, as we all know. It's much more complicated than that. They are the new creatives. And hopefully, that's going to give you the keys to continue evolving your personality, your jobs, your careers, and your organizations. So please enjoy this day and get inspired. Thank you, guys.